Okay, welcome to Late Night with Smitty. First show in October. I did one on Monday, which was the 30th, and then I was going to have one on Tuesday. But today I am joined by Jason Blake. You'll have to believe me, everybody. Audio or video doesn't work, but he is here. I know it says iPhone 3, but Jason, thanks so much
Yeah, no problem.
coming on the show. I really do appreciate this and making the time out of your busy schedule.
Well, thanks for inviting me. It's no, it's all good. I'm happy and excited to do this, and it kind of makes me feel somewhat still connected or that I played at some point. So it's been a long time. So no, it's all good.
Yeah, you watch hockey, you continue to watch, and then guys like yourself who've now retired, it's kind of time kind of it somewhat stands still, but then after a while you're like, oh shoot, I'm looking back, and yeah, you were in the league for a long time, and you've been retired now for what, 10 years?
Yeah, 10, 11 years. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, it goes
hmm,
by fast. I think when you're in it, you don't realize it, but from the start to the end, depending on, who you are and how long you play and it just flies by. I mean, I sometimes I think about it all the time. I think about it here and there about like it just seems like yesterday that I played, and then the next day I'm like, gosh, I haven't played in so long.
right.
And it's now I'm watching my kid. My kid's in Carolina,
Yes.
fighting for a spot there, and then I got 11-year-old, and he's doing great things for himself in hockey and
Hmm.
really enjoying it. So yeah, it is. It's been. I'm very blessed how long I got to play and to play in the greatest league ever, and now I get to just sit back and kind of watch my kids grow up and watch chase them around the hockey rink.
Yeah, no doubt about it, right? It's you'll see, as you say, seeing that and everything. So you started your career at UND way back. So kind of
Yeah.
talk about that and then the transition and the drafting into the NHL.
Well, I think when I grew up in Grand Forks, North Dakota for 13 years, my first 13 years, and it was always a dream of mine if I was able to or fortunate to play college hockey at some point in my life and to play Division One. I always wanted to go to North Dakota. And, when I was in seventh grade, my dad got transferred jobs, so we moved just 70 miles down the road to Moorhead, Minnesota, and it was you never really think about it. I mean, everyone has, all the kids have aspirations and dreams of being in, the next superstar or playing in the NHL or playing college hockey. And I always try to explain this. Like, I was a good hockey player in Moorhead, Minnesota. I wasn't, you bring me down to Minneapolis, I was probably just average, because there's a lot of good players down there. I didn't know anything about Minneapolis and really, and, it was just a dream of mine to go to North Dakota, and I went to play junior hockey in Waterloo, Iowa, and there was kind of I was pulled in a couple directions because I really wanted to go play golf. And my mother at the time, my dad was all for it. I mean, I played golf in high school and I really enjoyed it, and I worked at it pretty hard in the summertime, and
Mhm.
I really wanted to go, and my mother said no. But I ended up going to Waterloo, Iowa to play in the USHL. Back then, that's a long time ago. There was only 10 teams, and now there's probably like 25 or something like that. But so I went there for 2 years, and I was fortunate to get a scholarship, and I kind of just I took I feel like when I look back at my career or my path on how I got to from point A to point B, because everyone's path is so different, right?
That's right.
And I just, every level or every place I played, I just felt blessed and grateful to have an opportunity. And whatever you do with that opportunity, it's going to happen or it's not going to happen. And I just tried my hardest, and I in the USHL my second year I had 100 points, and
Hmm.
and things just kind of took off. And I just realized, even when I went to college, like, you always say, Now the next step is playing the NHL," right? And
Right.
I always said, God, that'd be awesome if I used to watch hockey on TV all the time, and and it was just a dream. And when you get an opportunity, and you just gotta do what you can to survive. And I went to LA out of college, signed with them. I was an older kid in college, which is okay. I mean, I probably had a lot of growing up to do, and I went to LA, and I was there for a couple of years, and I got traded to New York, and that's kind of where I made my, I guess, my spot in the NHL was in New York for the Islanders.
Hmm. So some of the coaches you've had along the way, and Andy Murray with the Kings. Uh,
Yeah.
so again, can't help but think of Andy Murray, who's originally from Souris, Manitoba. I actually saw him at a Pistons game many years ago now. He was scouting, and you kind of run into, oh, okay, well, shoot, it's Andy Murray. He used to sell cars. Uh, you know, yeah, and you were playing in LA during a time, again, when the Lakers were winning championships and that sort of thing. Did you find that it was kind of a sense of, um, were the Kings kind of in the background, not as much pressure on you guys, or how did that
Well, I
kind of
mean,
play
I
out?
I that was my first time to Los Angeles. Growing up in a smaller town in the state of Minnesota, Moorhead, it's only got like 20, I don't even know, 30,000 people, which is, I mean, it's relatively big, but
Mm,
it's not when you compare it to, going to LA. And I think that I was just overwhelmed big time. That's a big place with a lot of obviously celebrities, Lakers. We actually practiced with the Lakers. Our building, our practice facility was combined with the Lakers or attached with the Lakers. So it was one big building. We practiced on right when you drive up it through, through the gate, and then the Lakers were on the other side. You could definitely tell who the hockey players and the basketball players were with the cars. But that was back in the day. I mean, yeah, I mean they were on. I mean, they had Shaquille O'Neal. I mean, that they just. I mean, I actually met him a couple times, which was it was probably one of the coolest things ever. And you know, I don't know. I mean, LA, like when the year that I got there, I mean, we made the playoffs, and we played Detroit. I mean, we were a good team. I mean, we had a lot of great players. I mean, we had Luke Robitaille was my first roommate in the league.
okay.
Probably one of the nicest guys you'll ever meet in hockey, and one of the greatest left wingers to ever play, as far as points. And he was just a great guy. And I mean, we had a heck of a hockey team. But I mean, you could probably say the pressure was not as high on us than, say, the Lakers. I mean, they had a stacked lineup. I didn't know much about basketball. I mean, I've always enjoyed watching basketball.
Yeah.
So I mean, obviously, when you get to meet some guys, like just by whether it's in the parking lot, walking to your car, you're walking out at the same time,
Right.
or something like that, you get to meet these guys. And obviously, you go to a couple games because you're fortunate to be, you get tickets or whatever it is. I mean, yeah, you root for them. I rooted hard for them, for I'm still rooting for them.
Hmm.
But yeah, I mean, I think maybe the pressure was less on us. But I mean, they had the Lakers, the Kings, and the Clippers. So I mean, I don't know. I guess it was just. I mean, you just feel like sometimes I felt lost in LA because it was so big, and I'm not used to that. But it was. I enjoyed my time there. I thought, I got to know Andy Murray really well, and just a great coach, great guy, very detailed. And I think he did a great job. And I enjoyed my time there. Just there wasn't really, I think at the time there wasn't maybe a spot for me there. And that's okay. I mean,
Yep.
it works out or it doesn't. And I got traded to the Islanders, and that's where I kind of made my mark, or I felt more at home, or I felt like I had an opportunity to play a little bit more. We weren't my first year when we were there, or when I got traded. I mean, they were out of the playoffs. It was one of those done in January type things. But I mean, I
Yeah.
still really enjoyed it. And then the following year, when Peter Laviolette came came to the Islanders, he really turned it around for us. But they also signed, Michael Pekka and Lexi Ashen, and they signed some guys. They brought some guys in, and it was just that was probably my most. I was there for such a long time, and when guys are when you're at a place at a long time, you feel at home and you feel part of a community. My kids went to school there. I got to know a lot of people just outside of hockey, which is a huge thing. I think
Yep.
us as hockey players, we get so we're driven, right? I mean, just like everybody, you're just driven, and all you can focus is on hockey. But I met a lot of great people just outside of hockey, uh, whatever that was, and it meant a lot to me. And I really enjoyed my time there, and I spent 7 years there. So
Yeah, that was yeah, definitely a long time. And then you transitioned then to the Maple Leafs.
yeah,
Signed as a free agent there on July 1st, 2007. Then you had Paul Maurice, uh,
yep,
and going into that Toronto market. So there you go from LA. Islanders, you have the Rangers there as well, but you go into the Mecca of Toronto, where I had Brad Lukowich on the show a while back, and he was telling me stories of Brian McCabe and him and shoveling his driveway. People were like bugging him about his plus minus. Did you run into that sort of thing, or?
yeah. I mean, I will say one thing about Toronto. That is I mean, you want to. I mean, I think all the teams have first class organizations. I think they do it the right way. I
Mhm.
mean, I've been out of the game for a while now, and I'm sure there's been a change on how teams run however they do it. Toronto was absolutely first class. I mean, and but I will say it is, you win 2 or 3 games, it's like get the parade on Young Street going. And if you lose 2 or 3 games, it's like, okay, this guy's got to be traded, this guy's got to be traded, everyone get him out.
Yeah.
But I enjoyed my time there. I think my first year was a really tough year. I don't know. I had a little health scare there for a while, and it took me a long time. I mean, I with the teammates that I had, they were obviously playing with Matt Sundin, the greatest,
Mhm.
Swedish, one of the, well, I'll say the greatest Leaf, but one of the greatest, players in the history of the NHL. And the team, I felt like the team really rallied behind me. I mean, it was a tough year for me.
Right.
I came into training camp ready to go, and then I had that going on, and I had I'm still actually taking medicine for that. But I mean, I lost 10, 12 pounds in 8 days, 9 pound, not, 8, 9 days. And it was a tough year. But I mean, I think, after you get, I think it's tough sometimes when you sign with other teams, when you've been at a place for a long time. Because I mean, obviously, when you're signing, maybe a bigger contract, or you're expecting more, and the expectations are pretty high, and especially going into Toronto. But I think the media and everybody else, or everybody involved, like, really helped me out that year. Just, it was just a tough year, I guess.
Well, I again, it kind of reminds me of maybe Tavares when he signed with the Islanders to Toronto, right? That sort of deal, that
Yeah.
expectation, right? And then I do remember them with your health scare, and the media asking you, yeah, what's from what I can recall, yeah, it was definitely a very emotional time for you.
Well, I think
No question, because it came out of nowhere, correct?
oh yeah, I mean, I was floored. I mean, I was crushed.
Yeah.
Obviously, at the time I had 3 kids, and one of them was just born in February. So I mean, you're looking at 5 months, 6 months, 7 months old, or whatever that is.
Mhm.
I went to North Dakota, so I don't add as well. But and I had two kids too, and I mean, it's an emotional time. And obviously, playing in a market like that, Toronto, probably one of the greatest organizations of all time. And I knew the expectation was there, and when I got there and this all happened, it was just, it was hard for me. And I want to, there's guys like Darcy Tucker really helped me out. Brian McCabe really helped me out.
Mm-hmm.
Matt Sundin, like all these guys. Like, I mean, you could just tell, once I started taking my medicine, you could tell, you could see me every day I'd lose weight, and I couldn't help it. I mean, there's nothing I could do.
Right.
I knew that going in before I started taking it. And and I feel like the media was good for a little bit. And then after that, they're like, I remember the first year, or the first 3 games, I had opportunities to score. I just didn't score. And I was getting hounded like, you're not scoring. I'm like, dude, it's 3 games. Like, come on. You
Right.
call this a scoring slump? You know, but I think overall, I think I got through it, and it made me stronger at the end of the year. And, obviously the following year I came back and had whatever 65 points or something. So I think I felt like a little redemption, a little bit, but you know
Mm-hmm. And then yes, so through that you won the Bill Masterson award, uh,
yeah.
which is huge, obviously. And what did that mean to you?
Well, I mean, I mean, it just at the time, I mean, you don't really realize it because you're playing, right? And then the season's over and you have time to reflect, and you're just, a lot of it was like, for me internally, it was a lot of disappointment to myself, because I'm like, you score X amount of goals the one year, and then you score, I think I had 15 or something like that year.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, I mean, it meant a lot, because I think our league, the NHL, our league is, you go out and you play these guys on a nightly basis, and you want to like rip their heads off, but at the end of the day, the NHL is a family, and we're the league. The league and the NHLPA really do a good job of, like, it is a big family, and I'm sure other leagues are like that, or other sports are like that, but guys really take care of themselves. And I remember when I got we were playing, who were we playing? I think we kind of Peter Laviolette, was I saw him at one of the when I was walking in, or pregame skate, and I talked to him for a little bit, and he didn't know, and I told him. And like, I think, like, even during warm-ups, right?
Mm-hmm.
All the guys on the other team, I think it was Carolina, wasn't it? Yeah, it must have been Carolina. He was coaching. All the guys literally came up and tapped me on the butt. And like stuff like that means a lot to a player, right? I mean,
Sure.
I never told anyone.
Yeah.
I just told Lavi, because I have a big heart for Lavi. I mean, I've always loved him, and I've always wanted him to succeed. Even to this day, like when he's in New York, he's coaching the Rangers, I always cheer for him. And then he's got my buddy Michael Pekka on the side of him. He was my roommate for 3 years in Long Island. We were best buddies, and yeah, it just, guys like that just. And then when it came out, every team that I played, guys would tap me on the knee pads, or on my butt or my backside,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that means a lot. And I think you don't really realize it at the moment, but as time moves on in your life or your career or whatever you decide, you look back at those moments, and you're like, I mean, you get a little teary eyed. And I remember when I won the Bill Masterton, or when I got, when they called me about it, like, it took me about a week to, like, just calm down. Like, it just,
Mhm.
because there's so many guys in the league that go through different things. And I, my thing is different than so and so's thing, and so on. We all battle through adversity, and you have to. And it just, I think at the end of the day, it makes you stronger at the end of the day. And that'd be my message to kids out there, is like, we all go through things in our life, and at the moment, it's not fun, and it sucks,
Right.
but you will come out stronger at the end. And that's what I, you know
Hmm.
uh, That's, I think, just talking to other guys, even guys that played way before me. Like when I saw him at the NHL award show, and it was the award show was in Toronto, and I remember talking to Adam Graves, and like he's the one that gave me the award, and Cassie Campbell, and I talked to him, and it's like when I talked to him, it's like it took my breath away, because it's like we all rally around each other. At the end of the day, we all want to win the Stanley Cup. We all want to do well. We all want to do this and that. But at the end of the day, we're a big family, and we support each other, and we never want to have anything happen to someone around the league. And if that was the case, then guys really step up, and whether they're on your team or not on your team, whether on a different team. And
Mm-hmm.
one guy that really helped me out was Darcy Tucker. And I mean, he was probably one of the he's to this day, I say this to people, because we had that battle in 2001 2002 playoff, right, with the Islanders. And I tell people, like, he's one of the nicest, greatest guys I ever played hockey with. He's just so genuine, and he's just a great person.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's again, I go back to my Brad Lukowich interview. I mean, he played with Darcy Tucker and Kamloops, so there's good roots being there with Don Hay and that sort of thing. So everything gets passed down, and you talk about all this with um being together. If anything, we've seen it through the Humboldt Broncos tragedy recently with Johnny Gaudreau and all of that. It's quite something just to see kind of the human spirit at work here.
Yeah, I mean, hockey's such a big, hockey across the country is, well, the world, will say. I mean, it's such a big sport, but hockey is literally a small community. And, the both incidents, really hit home. And obviously, Johnny Gaudreau, I mean, I'm speechless. I mean, my heart goes out to his family, his whole entire family, the whole community of hockey, the whole Columbus Blue Jackets. I mean, we're all here thinking about it, and what a tragedy, and it's so sad. And but if you look around the league, like, we're all, we're there to support. And and that's why I love the game so much. I mean, even if it's just in your town, or whatever it is, I mean, we all or we try to, right, we try to rally around everybody. And that's why I think it's the greatest game in the world.
Yeah, there's no question about that. I mean, it's yeah, the relationships that are built. My wife and I, we've built it for the junior team here in Steinbach, and my wife was out west recently and reconnected with a billet who's, I think he's getting married in the next few days. Just it goes far beyond that, because it's about relationship, right? At the end of the day, I think, and you say these relationships with Tucker and Laviette and Michael Pekka. I mean, you still keep in contact with them, but and I think that's great. I mean, it's awesome to hear that.
Well, it's just you always root for guys, right? And I mean, I don't really talk to those. I've talked to Michael Pekka here and there. I know that Darcy has a place down here, and I think it's in, actually, Fort Myers. But you just remember that, moments in your life where, you know
Mhm.
whatever it is, you know that those guys really were there. And I'd like to say that, to from mine to someone else too. It's like I said, it's a small hockey's a big thing, but it's a small community. And I feel like we're always rooting for each other, no matter, if you're a Leaf, you're at the end of the day, like, the Leafs, Canadians are out, or the Edmonton Oilers, Calgary Flames. At the end of the day, it's a big family, and we're always rooting for each other. You want guys to do well, and you want everything to work out for everybody.
Mhm.
I mean, maybe I'm speaking from I'm 51 years old now, so maybe that's how I look at it. Maybe it just took me a lot longer than than most people.
Well, Yeah, it's I took my kids to the Labor Day Classic a few weeks ago, and I remember my experience at the Labor Day Classic in 2003. I had my sign ripped up and beer thrown on me. It was much better with taking the kids in 2024. I'll just say. Maybe it's because I had kids with me. I don't know. My son was, are the Bombers going to win? I don't know. Let's find out. Uh, but so that's all good. Speaking of small world, do you happen to know Paul Dick from the Steinbach Pistons at all? I had a chat with him about a month ago, and I said that you were coming on the show, and he talked about the Orlando Solar Bears. Do you
Oh, yeah.
do you recall that? Okay. Thought I would
Yeah.
take a stab in the dark. That is recorded. I could edit it out. Anyhow, and maybe you've alluded to this. Any mentors along the way that you've had?
Well, I mean, I think everyone that you come across touches your life one way or the other. And I mean, I think one of my biggest supporters, my biggest help, like just from a standpoint of maybe not so much in the NHL, but
Hmm.
just to kind of get me going was Dean Blaze. That was my hockey coach at UND. And, he, it's funny because when I grew up for the first 13 years, my dad was very good friends with him. They used to play Yahtzee and cards, and because he was an assistant coach at UND for, Gino Gasparini was the head coach. And I mean, that's the guy that I look back. I mean, I think there's been a lot of people, it takes a lot of people to get, you know, a hockey player to where they're going, whether it was a
Hmm.
Bantam coach, a high school coach, or whatever. People are, they guide you through, whatever level you're at. And I think that's the guy that's really helped me, I should say, um, getting from college hockey, giving me an opportunity at North Dakota. We won a national championship my first year there. We won 3 league titles. I mean, it's just not about. It's just about our family, and I think he was. Guys used to say, "Oh, your dad's doing this, your dad," and I'm like, "What?" He goes, "Yeah, Coach Blaze, your dad." And but I think he's the guy that really, really got me to where I wanted to go, or at least pushed me. I mean, I think he's one of the greatest coaches. Well, he's one of the greatest coaches I've ever had. But you just go on from there, right? Like you got all my coaches have touched my hockey career in some sort of way. I mean, Lavi was phenomenal. He's one of the best guys I ever met in my life. I loved him. I remember when he was there for 2 years, and I remember I don't know what happened. I think he literally quit. I don't even know because I was right. I was in bed in the summertime, and Michael Pekka called me at like 10:30 at night. He goes, "Did you just hear what happened?" I'm like, "No." He's like, "Lavi's not coaching." We're all like floored. But I mean, that's a guy like I mean, just guys like that. Like I had my coach in New York. When I had my big year, Teddy Nolan,
Yes.
one of the greatest guys I ever met, greatest coach. I mean, not just a great guy. Like, I think in the NHL, I think players get paid to do a certain job, right? I mean, the coach is there to guide you and set game plans, but it's up to the players to actually get the job done. And I don't know. Paul Maurice was awesome. I'm so happy that he won a Stanley Cup last year. He deserves it, and I was so happy when they won it. I literally toasted a Coors Light to him. I'm like,
Nice.
I'm happy for it. But I mean, just everybody, like everyone that you come across that coach, they all like help you out in some way, some shape or form.
Hmm. That's good. That's awesome. Favorite rink to play, favorite rinks in the NHL to play in?
All of them. No, just kidding. The thing is, one of my favorite. Well, I mean, it's just depending on where you're playing, right? Like when I was in Toronto,
Mm.
Toronto. When you play Toronto, Montreal. I mean, it's just. I wouldn't say they're my favorite rinks. I think the atmosphere itself spoke for. That's what speaks to me, and or did speak to me. Like when you played in Toronto, Montreal Saturday night game, nothing compared to that. Even if but. I don't know. I really like Tampa Bay's rink. Um, I like rinks that I scored a lot in. So I like Pittsburgh's rink.
Yes, is there? Yeah, so
I mean, Madison Square Garden was, I mean, because back in the day when I played, we played those guys 8 times a year. You play four at home, four away.
yeah,
But even when he played the Rangers away, it felt like a home game, or the Rangers came to Nassau Coliseum. I'm sure it felt like a home game for them too. Fans were electric. It was awesome. I mean, just all the rinks were fun to play in. So I mean, I guess people would probably come to our rink at Nassau Coliseum and say, "Dude, do you guys get sent? Do you guys get sent down or what?" It's just because it was an old barn, but it was home. So I guess. But I think like Chicago State, or the Blackhawks rink was unbelievable. They're all great, and I mean, it's just fun. I mean, every night was just the electricity through the buildings were just unbelievable. And then when I played for the Leafs, that was a whole different ball game, because everywhere you went, like you come down to Florida, come down to Tampa or something like that. I mean, the whole crowd's got, back then the Tampa Bay Lightning have always been good, but Florida had struggled there for a few years, and you come down to the game, and when I was in Toronto, like the whole crowd had Toronto Maple Leaf jerseys on. And
yeah, it's
but I think that was a whole different ball game when I played in Toronto, because everywhere you went, like you always had fans, right? I mean, it was crazy. You go to Ottawa, we'd have fans. You go to Buffalo. Buffalo felt like a home game for us. Um, so like, I mean, I think the league has done a great job. I think every rink is now, I mean, especially now, they're all great. I love playing in Carolina. I mean, I think you like to play more where play in spots where if you're living in a cold climate and you go somewhere warm like Tampa or Florida or Carolina, or back then Atlanta was in the league, and like you walk outside and 75 degrees. It's perfect.
yeah, it's a good deal. No doubt. I went to go see a Lightning game 2 years ago. We were there at Disney World, and that was quite the atmosphere. Like it always seems everything's bigger and better. I've talked to people that have gone to Vegas too, and it's just nuts. Um, and I
Well,
went to yeah. Go ahead.
yeah, that's the rink. Well, I was just gonna say, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but that's the rink that I think would be super cool to play in, is Vegas. I mean, they do every night's like a rock concert, hockey. You combine it all into one, and they did it. They got it, and I mean, I've heard nothing but great things about that rink every night. It's just it's and I have to say this because it might sound weird to you, but like
Mhm.
I like to play like Tampa, like some of the places where you play that they don't know. Like, I'm not saying like hockey wasn't like the number one thing there for forever, right?
Right.
So like the fans just cheer. They just they're no there's no booing, there's no nothing. Like, you go to, like, if you're not doing good on the power play, the boo birds come out. Like they never did that there. They just cheered.
Yeah.
It's like you could, I mean, it was just fun. Like, I don't know. They just, it's like almost playing like a soccer game. They're chanting the whole game, and it's just so much fun.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Once you say that, yeah, I realize that now. It's like it's more fun. Again, I was at a Chiefs game a year ago, and they got fireworks going off at the pregame, and again, it's the NFL, and yeah, there's booing. Like they're very intelligent there, but when you get to those non-traditionals, yeah, they're just happy. They're there for a good time. So
Yeah, no, it's good. And I mean, I loved it. I mean, now like Lightning and Panther, I mean, they just won the Stanley Cup 3 out of the what, 6 or
6 years,
something.
yeah.
Yeah, something like that. I mean, hockey's just growing everywhere,
Hmm.
and I love that. I mean, this is why I love the game of hockey so much. I still do, even after I retired. Like, I just enjoy it. I mean, obviously more so now, or more so when I retired, because my kids played, and you spend so many times, you're at the rink all the time. You're at the rink more now than you were when you played. And when, I'm in Florida now, but when I was in Minneapolis, like, you go to the rink and you see all these guys that you play, like, you run into in Minneapolis, you run into Eric Stahl, and you run into Keith Ballard, or you run in, there's so many guys there, and it kind of brings you back, right? You're
Right.
like, okay, yeah, yeah, okay, now you see.
Yeah.
So it's super fun. I mean, I really enjoy it. And
Are you still there?
yep.
Okay. So yeah, speaking of career games, I should have looked this up. Where did you score your 1000th career goal in Chicago or no?
That's I okay, so I'm gonna have to say this. Out of the years I played, there's two rinks I never scored a goal in:
Okay.
Chicago and Detroit.
So yeah, already. So I totally gaffed on that, but
No, that's okay.
yeah, it was
That's
Halloween in 2006. I usually do short notes and remember the rest. So
it was that you mean my 100th goal?
yeah, yeah, your 1000th
No,
career.
my
Yeah,
100.
your 100th. I had another zero there. Yeah, your 100th career goal
I was against Chicago at home.
at home. Oh, okay,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
okay.
It was a power play 5-on-3. Look at me, I'm just spitting this out like I'm watching film every day.
Yeah, and I was a bit rusty there. I do apologize.
No, 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 no. It's funny because when people ask me, or I'm like, hey, like when we go on road trips, or when my kid played in Minnesota on the brick or whatever, we go on these long road trips, and I'd always tell, or we go to practice, and practice takes 45 minutes away. I'd take a couple kids. Well, like Middlestead's, my son is best friends with, Casey Middlestead, that plays for Colorado.
Oh yeah,
His two younger brothers, Jackson grew up with him, and they're inseparable. They're best buddies, and
nice.
they the one brother played, or the youngest one played with Jackson. They did high school together and all this, Minnesota Blades team. And we go to practice, and and he'd always say, "Hey, is your dad? Are we gonna have to watch your dad's highlight tape again on the way to practice?" I'd be like, "Hey, now, come on, you guys are gonna learn something here."
Oh
but
wow.
but no, I don't. I mean, there's this. Yeah, I mean, I don't really think about goals, like the goals I scored or whatever it is. I just,
Mm.
if you bring it up, I'm sure I can remember really fast though.
Yeah, 5-on-3 and that sort of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember Mike Sillinger gave me a pass.
Oh, that's crazy. That's good. Oh, shoot, that's almost 20 years ago. It's nuts.
Oh boy.
Where am I gonna go? You've alluded to your son Jackson. So he was drafted 109th overall by Carolina in 2021. What has that process been like for you to see all that?
Well, you're just a proud dad, I guess. I mean, I did. Obviously when you stop playing hockey and you've done it your whole life, now you're trying to figure out what's next, right? And
Right.
I Jackson, I took all my energy towards him, and I focused on him and his hockey. And obviously you do as much as you can for your kids, but we used to do some, shoot, we had a sport court in our backyard, and we shot pucks a lot, actually, a lot more than again I did. But I worked with him quite a bit, and I just, it's just, I'm just proud of him. He's got the drive like I did. I mean, he wants to play. He's a hockey rat, and he loves to be around the rink. He loves to do, and I mean, as time went on, again, like you don't know what's going to happen, right? Everyone dream, like if you're in the state of Minnesota, your dream is to play in the high school hockey tournament, because it's probably been well known across the United States is that you get 20,000 people in the stands, and
Yeah.
it's packed house. It's one big giant party for 4 days, and they have now they have a two-tier system, and it's just great. I mean, and then when you get to that, then what's the next step, and then you get to that step, and then what's the next step, and I mean, yeah, I've been so proud of him, and it's just I don't know. I'm just he's just it kind of gives me jitters inside, because he's taken a path, and I'm hoping and praying that it works out for him. And he works his butt off, and he does everything he can do to try to get to the next level, and that's all you can do.
Yeah, yeah, most definitely. And those are, I mean, as I say, you talk about the jitters. I can, I mean, I'm just seeing my son. He's his third year of hockey and whatever else, and yeah, and for your son to be in this at the NHL level and just kind of see what he's doing, what you've done. I mean, yeah, as you say, you're proud of him, and that's awesome.
Yeah, I mean he's in camp now. I mean he played last night against Nashville. He's playing tomorrow night against Tampa at home, or they're playing at home in Carolina. Both games were I actually saw him on Saturday night. He played against the Panthers in Fort Lauderdale. So my little guy and I went to up to that, or down, whatever, down to that. But yeah, I mean it's super fun. I mean, you know, anytime that you share the same passion and the same, things that your kids, I mean, it makes life a lot easier. And I have two daughters that are amazing, and they were dancers. I mean, I have a junior in high school now, and my other one's out of college, and she's in the real life, or she's living the real life, still on daddy scholarship. But but I mean, I've been very fortunate and blessed. My kids I got four unreal, beautiful, and just great kids. So
Mhm.
obviously my daughters will tell me once in a while, they'll remind me that, oh, you love Jackson more than me because he plays hockey and we share the same passion and the same, same kind of things. So but yeah, I hope he does well this year.
It's good. Yeah, and thanks for bringing up your other kids too. I see Jackson in kind of in the Wikipedia and again remember him being drafted. So yeah, I definitely want to ask about that. But it's awesome that your other kids are doing well and doing the things they love as well. So that's
Yeah.
2006 Olympics, representing team USA. What was that experience like?
Well, I mean, that was like, I was in shock. So I got invited to go to, what was it, Colorado Springs. Well, I played in the '04 World Cup. So I
Mhm.
mean that you go, we went to Columbus for 2 weeks or 10 days, and then, we had training camp there, and then the '06 Olympics came. I mean, that was, I don't know. That's something that, you always have stepping stones, right? Oh, can I reach that? Can I do that? And that was something that was so far off in the distance. I never even thought about it. And when I was fortunate and to be a part of that, with especially, I think it was the one thing that I remember is the guys that were on that team that I played with. It's like, you got, Keith Kachuk, Mike Madonna, Chris Chelios, Doug Waite, the list goes on and on. These are all guys that you look up to, and it's
Mhm.
like, I remember when I went to training camp my first day, I literally was sitting in the locker room, like looking around, going, had to pinch myself 50 times. I'm like, Is this for real?" You know?
Yeah.
And then, but I got to know a lot of them, during the '04, '05 World Cup. I mean, I played golf quite a bit with, Mike Madonna. So I got to know him really well. And, just certain guys that you kind of share the same interests with. But when it came to that Olympic, I went to camp in Colorado, and obviously, I'm sure I'll say it. I mean, I was a bubble guy, obviously, and things just went great or good the beginning of that year, and I was picked to play on the team. I mean, I was just surprised as probably anyone else, but it was just a great experience. Obviously, anytime you get to represent your country, especially in something like that, I
Hmm.
mean, I played in the the world championships a few times, but when you get to, the Olympics is obviously the big achievement, and I don't know, it was unbelievable, actually. I mean, it was it was great. I don't really know like how else to put it. I mean, it's one of those things that you never think that's going to happen. I mean, it's like winning a Stanley Cup. I didn't win a Stanley Cup. And that's the one thing that I wish I would have been able to accomplish with our teams that I played on. and it just fell short. And I guess if you look back, I mean, that's the number one thing. And if you go down and be like, you know what, though, I was fortunate to play in the Olympics, and a lot of guys, some guys don't get to do that to represent their country at that level.
Yeah, that's exactly it, right? If you look back, you're like, well, maybe I didn't get the big prize. If you look at all the list of accomplishments, you're like, you know what, that's pretty darn good. So, um, no shame in that.
It was just, well, I think the biggest thing, it was just the guys you play with. I mean, I just think I still remember this. I tell this story. I mean, there's so many guys just in the league. I mean, I grew up in a different time, and I'm sure guys are saying this now. Like my son played last night against Nashville, and he met Steven Stamkos when he was like 9 years old. Steven Stammer gave him a stick and all this, and signed it. I have it in my house in Minnesota,
Yeah.
and like I asked him, he's like, holy. He goes, he said something, and I said, "Holy shit! Don't you remember when you met him when you were like 8, 9 years old, and he gave you a stick, and now you're playing against him last night because he played last night in the preseason game." And he's
Right.
like, "I'm like, that's how I felt. I mean, that's how you feel like when you come in the league, when you like I." To this day, I've always said this, like Joe Sakic was my hero. I mean, Wayne Gretzky, I got to meet him in the '06 Olympics, take
Mhm.
a picture with him. I mean, he was my idol too.
Right.
But like Joe Sakic was like the guy for me. Like I'm like this guy. I remember when he scored 17, 18 goals that one playoff year. I mean, just unbelievable. And I remember I was sitting. I mean, just guys that you end up like idolizing when you grow up, and then all of a sudden you're there, and you're like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Like, and I remember I was fortunate to play in the All-Star game in '07, and it was in Dallas. And I remember this, and my parents were there, my brother was there, and I was in the store, in the team store, whatever it is, the store.
Yeah.
And so I bought, my kids the Blake jerseys and all this other stuff. And I was like, can I get number 19 Joe Sakic jersey? And she's like, yeah. So I got it. And like my parents and my wife at the time were like, what? Why are you doing that? And I said, "Dude, he's my favorite player." So like an hour later, I see him sitting in the room, and he's like with his family and his parents, maybe, I don't know.
Mhm.
And I walk up there with my tail between my legs. I'm like, Joe. And he goes, "What's up, Blakey?" And I said, "Hey, I was wondering if you could sign this for me." And he's like, "Yeah, I'd love to." Like, nicest guy in the world. Just like how he played, just a very, just a great guy. I didn't know him, but I mean, when you play against him and you idolize him all your life. And he goes, "Yeah, yeah, I'll sign it. Who do you want me to make it out to?" And I like paused for a second. And I was like, and I turned my head. I'm like, "Me?" I still got it. I still have it.
Yeah, and you know what? There's nothing wrong with that, right? Like if that's the guy you idolized, Burnaby Joe. I mean, he's still regarded, and he's still held in high regard. I mean, and no question about it, one of the greatest players to ever play.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's just, and that's kind of the fun thing. Like, you were talking about the Olympics, like you're sitting there and you're just looking around, and it's like Brian Lee, and the list goes on, and you're like, holy cow, like I think I'm in the wrong locker room right now, getting dressed for a game, sitting next to Chelly.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, you talk about Chelios, he won the Stanley Cup with the Red Wings in '02. I mean, you could just kind of pick these guys' brains, right? Like just, hey, what was this experience like, and that sort of thing, and just yeah, there's a lot of storytelling to be had there, no question.
Well, Chelly, uh, I'm just Well, the funny thing about Chelly was the first time I played against Detroit. Like, this is the thing, you get these awe moments.
Yeah.
So I watched Chelly. So when I lived in Grand Forks, I always wanted to play for the Sioux, but
Mhm.
and then Chelly was in Wisconsin, so I watched Chris Chelios playing, and I kind of liked him then because he had this mean little streak to him. And I didn't know, like I was just a snot nosed little kid. I was probably 8, 7, 8, 9 years old, but I always liked this guy. And it's one of those guys that you just kind of like, and you get lost in time as you start growing up. He goes and plays in the NHL, and we didn't NHL. They didn't have an NHL network back then.
Right.
I remember I was playing in Detroit, and I was standing in front of the net, and this guy was whacking the shit out of the back of my legs constantly, and I didn't even know, like, I was just standing there. But now all of a sudden my calves are starting to hurt because he's just whacking the shit out of them. And the puck, like, I don't even know where the puck went, but the whistle blew, and I turn around and go, "Just leave me alone!" Like, I used to idolize you. Like, just moments like that, you're just like, God. I look back, we actually talked about it once in the '04 World Cup. Where I'm like, dude.
Oh, that's too good. That was great.
I'm like, I still got your freaking whatever sticker you use now. That's like tattooed to my calves. You're whacking the crap out of me. Like, I'm just a little guy. Let me be.
Mm-hmm. Did you have any superstitions, game day superstitions?
Um, not. I mean, I think we're all superstitious in the league, but I don't know. I not really. I obviously put my right skate on always before my left, but I don't know. I always had a coffee before every game. I didn't do that my first few years, but I mean, I think that's just the way it goes. Not really. I mean, I don't know. I think we're all like, you eat the same food all the time. If you score a goal, then you're definitely eating the same food. What if you score a goal or you do something, you have a great game or something, you're always doing this. You're trying to, but the thing is, it screws your mind up so much because you can't remember ever. You're like, okay, did I? Oh, I didn't. I don't know if did I put the tape on my knee pad the same as I did last night or the night before or something. But not really. I mean, yeah, I mean, I bet you if you talk to other people, they say, yeah, for sure, he was so superstitious because I've heard that a lot. I don't know. I mean, later in my career, I always got a Starbucks I leave the house at the same time. Yeah, I guess I am I was superstitious. I'd be like standing in the front entry, like just waiting for the clock to be at a certain time, and then I walk out.
Right. It's good, and I've had
Crazy.
people say, "Hey, I've had I'm not superstitious," or I've had people go into great detail. So yeah, as you say, I think we all are superstitious, whether we're an athlete or not. Uh, that is
Yeah,
for certain.
it's just the nature of the beast. I mean, to be honest with you, I think I started getting superstitious with my kid too. Like I remember a couple times, like he had some big games, just and playing for the Blades or whatever. But like, or even in high school, like I would literally wake him up at the same time if he played. Like I would literally, because he'd take a little nap or something, and like even in college, like we talk every day
Right.
still, and it's just like yeah, it is kind of funny, to be honest with you. I'd drive down the same road. If he played good, he'd be like, "Why are we going this way?" It's because I went this way last time. Well, there was an accident. Well, we're going this way anyways. I don't care. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's just I don't know. Maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm a little messed up, but I don't
No,
know.
you know what, again, we have the season tickets to the Bombers, and years ago, when I lived in Winnipeg, I used to drive around the stadium the night before a game at least once. Like that's what we had to do, or like even watching hockey. Like I remember when the Jets were down 3-0 to Nashville there in 2018. Then I put the volume at 26. When I'd watch the Leafs, I would always have it at 13 or whatever, like for Sundin or whatever else, right? And like anything I can
Yeah,
do, right? So
yeah. No, I know. You just it plays mind games with you, but you're like, you know what? If it works, it works. Who cares?
right, yeah, and do what you can, right? No, that's good. What else should we cover? Always like to ask people, any favorite NFL team?
I don't. It's like kind of in hockey, I guess. No, I don't really. I'm more of a it. It's funny for me. It's like I'm more of a players guy. Like I'm a big. I was a big Tom Brady fan. I was a big Aaron Rodgers fan. I was a big, probably more so just I really respect the guys, and I think a lot more highly of the guys that have long careers because I know, like, even in the NHL, like people always ask me, like, what's your favorite hockey team? And I'm like, well, I don't really have like a favorite team for me that I played on. No, no. What do you like? I mean, like I got to enjoy the era of Sidney Crosby, right? From the start to, well, the start of his career, and then when he came in the league in '04, I think it was,
Oh, five.
or something like that. '04, okay, '05. Like I played against him so much. So I got to witness that. So, like, guys like that are in the league for a long time, I know what a grind. I know kind of. I don't know other sports, but I can just imagine, especially, I mean, in hockey, like you look at a guy like Alex Ovechkin, like Sidney Crosby. I'm just more of a players guy. I do, like I always want, I'm a big fan of Aaron Rodgers. I mean, he's 40 years old. He's been doing it for a long time. I mean, that says a lot about him as a player, a person, his character. Just guys that just are in the league for a long time. Tom Brady, I love Tom Brady. Just because what he did, and he won, what, 6 7 Super Bowls. So just guys like that. I mean, I do root for teams. I mean, but those, if they're on the team, then I'm like, yeah, that's awesome. you know I don't know. Vikings, obviously, they're doing well this year. They're 4-0, so that's a good thing.
A surprising 4-0.
Yeah, but they're a good team. I think the surprising thing is the quarterback. you know I don't think that anyone would have thought that, just because they lost Cousins, and I thought he was really good there. He just got injured. And so I didn't think, usually it takes a year or two to have a quarterback come in and be successful, but it seems like he's doing it, and it's great for them. And so they're 4-0. I don't know. Like, you always want, like, Dallas Cowboys, they just signed that quarterback for how many million? So I'd like to see him do well too. I mean, I don't know. I'm just a players guy, I guess.
Right. Yeah. And yeah, when you've played in the league a long time, as you say, and then seeing other players in other leagues, and then even in the same sport have longevity, I see what you're saying, why you would want to root for these guys. Like, you have Kirk Cousins, who's been in the league for quite some time. He just coming off Achilles uh injury. Same with Aaron Rodgers. It's not just a 16 games, 17 games. Like, it is a grind. It is a 365 deal going on here. So,
Yeah, I think I mean, it's changed a lot now. I think. I mean, hockey to me has always been a 11-month sport. I mean, especially when you're playing at a high level or in the NHL, NFL. I'm sure the NFL, all the sports are the same, right? And I
mhm.
think that it is a grind. I mean, there are no days off. I mean, you get a couple weeks off, but it's not the demand. It's just your internal self. Like, I remember at the end of the year, you play 82 games, play playoffs. I never made it out of the first round, but even that, you take 2 weeks off. Guys take 3 weeks off, month off. Even 2 weeks off, you start feeling like shit. And
Yeah,
I mean, whatever, it doesn't even matter if you're not doing anything. It's just you start feeling like crap.
yeah.
And then now you're like, oh, I gotta go for a run, or I gotta ride the bike, or I gotta get in the gym, and you're trying to heal your body at the same time. And it's because it is a grind, and it's like, no, I gotta go for a run. I feel like shit today.
That's a great slogan. Yeah, I feel like crap. Go for a run. That's good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. No doubt about it. Well, we've almost gone. I think we've almost gone an hour here, Jason. Was there anything else that you would like to cover? Didn't talk much about your time with Anaheim. I guess any Timu Solani, since I am close to Winnipeg, stories.
No, not really. I will say the one thing about Tim, he is the nicest guy I ever played hockey with.
Mm-hmm.
There's not a guy that guy, I don't even know how he does that. Like he literally, I mean, well, when I got traded there, I mean, we had Needham, Scotty there. Scotty was there, Timo was there, and then,
Mm-hmm.
Scotty retired, and then I mean, we had some good team. Like my second year there, we played Nashville in the playoffs, um, and we were four, they were five, and okay, I'll tell it to him who's Solani.
Okay. Okay.
Two stories. One, we were playing in Colorado, and I used to say this all. I didn't say it, so like, but guys would say it. I mean, the guy scored 700 goals, and he didn't know what offsides was from day one to his last game. Like there was one time he was so offsides. He was like 10 feet offsides, and the linesman blew the whistle, and he's like, "What? I don't go offside." Like he just went on and on. It was the funniest thing ever. I mean, just little things like that. But like he was never wrong. But I tell you one thing: everything he did had a smile. He had a smile on his face.
Mm-hmm.
Like you know how if you have a 7 o'clock game, you got to be at the rink by 5.
Right.
But most guys are there at 4:15, 4:30.
Right.
No, he's there at 4:59. And
That's
I mean, it was the best. Like he was, and he walked in with a big smile on his. He'd sit in the PK or the power play meeting or the meeting with a suit on. 'Cause everyone's ready, already stretched and ready to go, and he's like, "What? I'm here."
that's
But the one the ones we were playing Nashville in the playoffs that year, and we had a really good team. I mean, we had Getzey, Perry, Bobby Ryan, and
Mhm.
Saku. Saku's another guy that I mean, he is. You want to talk about a character, just a great human being. He is it doesn't get better than him or Tamu. Those two are the best.
Mhm.
And I was fortunate to play with them basically my whole
A
time in.
cancer survivor as well.
Yeah, he's just a wonderful dude. He truly is. And I played with him. Those two, basically the time that I got traded to the time I ended, and other than Randy Carlisle always wanted to change the lines, and whatever that guy was doing. But anyways, he was giving me the 1, 2, 3 sign. I didn't even know what the hell that was, and he's yelling. I'm like, what the fuck? I got traded. I gotta go. When I go back to my Tamu story, but I
Yeah.
got traded and I went to Florida, and so it was a Sunday. I want to say it was a Sunday because I think we played Vancouver the night before, and I got traded Sunday, whatever afternoon. It doesn't matter. But I flew to Florida that night, and so we're playing Florida. Anaheim's playing Florida and Florida, and so I play the next night, and we're in a defensive zone face off. Okay, and I
Mhm.
didn't, yeah, not a lot of guys look at the coach constantly, right? But I noticed that I'm like, God, these guys, we're going off. They're all looking at him. So we go on the defensive zone face off, and Saku wins it, and I just, like a normal breakout, right?
Right.
And we get the puck, we go down, we cycle, whatever. We're in the zone for a little bit. We change. He comes down, he yells at me. It's like my first game in Anaheim. I was like looking at Tamu, and I'm like, what the fuck? What? Why is he yelling at me? He goes, you got to look at me in the bench. So he literally would do like one by his nose, and that meant
Mhm.
like go up the strong side up high, or two, like then he'd do like two up by his head, and then three was something like two was like a rim, and then three was like whatever. And like he used to do that, and after a while, I'd be like, "Fuck, screw this! I'm not looking at him. This is dumb. Like this is the dumbest thing I've ever seen in my life." And guys on the bench, like when he got there, like I still remember this. Like Bobby Ryan was sitting next to me. I can't remember. He's like, Dude, don't even look at him. What the fuck? He's gonna
Yeah.
give you the one. Like one will he'll be picking his nose, and everyone was like, "Is that a one or what's he doing right now? Are we going up the weak side or the strong side or what?" You know, he did it all the time. And but anyways, that was oh my god, that's just like, dude, what are you doing? But so I'm gonna end on this, and this might be so Tamu. We're playing in playoffs against the Nashville Predators, and we're up. We lost. I can't remember if we won game one or we lost game one. But anyway, so we're playing, and so we one of the games I can't remember. It was at home, and we were up like 3 to something like that, and then so they pulled a goalie, and there's like 40 seconds left of the game or whatever it is. He put and Randy puts Tamu out there. We're all on the bench going, "What the dude? You can't," because like whatever." So they win the draw, and it goes back to the defenseman, and then it goes back to Shea Weber with a one timer, and he just rips. You know, Shea Weber is one of the best defensemen to ever play the game. He's got the hardest shot. He rips it, and he scores. And he comes back to the bench. He goes, "I don't get fucking paid enough to block shots." Like, dude, but we're all like the whole bench is like, why is he out there right now?
Right, right.
Right. And then we ended up losing. David Legwand scored in overtime, I think. But yeah, but Tamu
Yeah.
was the best. Yeah, I mean, like I've been so fortunate, and everyone will say this, that because it is a family. But you play with these guys, and I've always said this to people. People ask me, who's your favorite player that you ever played hockey with? And I said, I mean, Michael Pekka was also there. But Teemu Selanne is by far the nicest human being, like in hockey. Like that guy has a smile on his face. I bet you he sleeps with smiling. I really do. He is just the nicest guy, and I was just fortunate enough to play with him, and same with Saku. But Selanne Teemu's probably the best Finnish hockey player to ever play the game in the NHL, and he's just God. Oh, and then I just kick his ass on the golf course.
I mean, he was very impressionable here in Winnipeg, scoring the 76 goals, beating Mike Bossy. Him and McGillney had the 76 goals in 93. You still hear stories of Solani when he was here in Winnipeg playing street hockey with kids,
Oh,
in the heights, and it's just nuts.
well, I'm telling you, and I seriously mean that. Like the nicest guy. I don't think anyone could ever say different. He's the nicest guy. He's the only. How many goals did he score? Like 650 or something.
Something like that. I'd have to look it up.
The worst shot I've ever seen. He'd always tell me, Blakey, you got to move the puck 1 inch to the left or 1 inch to the right, Blakey. Because we'd be like, how the hell does he score? Like his kid shoots harder than he does. But just the oh
Oh,
god, I freaking love that guy.
yeah.
Oh man,
Oh, it's good. That is awesome. So,
yeah.
so good. Good
Uh,
deal. Well,
so, well, I want to thank you so much for
mhm.
having me. Um, yeah, it was fun.
Yeah, this has been great, Jason. The audio is good. I mean, there's always ways to work around it, but this is all good. Um, yeah, so I'm not sure where to go from here, but as I say, I usually
No,
try to go for about an hour. And thanks so much again for coming on the show. And I know you already said thank you and all that, but it's been a pleasure.
yeah, it has. I really appreciate it. Thank you so
Yeah,
much,
yeah.
and God bless you, and God bless your family, and you take care.
Same to you as well. And as I always tell everybody, if you ever want to come back on again, you're more than welcome to.
Yeah, but we can't let Tamu hear that one.
Okay, sure. Good, good. Alrighty, take
Oh,
care.
old Tamu Solani. Yeah, I figured that guy is the best. I'm gonna say I've said this. I have this like so. There's quite a few guys down here in Florida. Well, Gavin Brindley. To
Yeah,
get yeah, so his dad owns a school here, so I work at the school, or I mean, I'm on the ice with the kids,
Right.
and they all asked me. I said, Teemu Selanne, they're like, the best guy I ever played hockey with. Teemu Selanne is the best guy I ever played hockey with. Best guy you'll ever meet in your entire life. He'd give his shirt off his back 24/7 for a guy. Seriously. So,
So
but
good.
thank you so much. God bless,
Yeah.
and I hope you have a wonderful year.
Yeah. You as well,
All
Jason.
right, thank
Take
you.
care. Yeah. Good deal.
All right, bye-bye.